Good evening, everyone. Good day. This is Startup Weekend Pristina, day 2. While teams are working on their products and services along with the mentors, we are now hosting our guest speaker, special guest speakers, Walid from Helsinki. We have met him during Slush 2 years ago when we have attended the conference together with Labbox Arta. Where 20,000 attendees were participating that year. Unfortunately, we weren't able to participate last year and also this year because of the virus, but hopefully we'll meet with Walid in Pristina during 2021, hopefully when everything's over with the COVID. Before introducing our speaker or just offering or giving him the mic, I would like just to read some words about him and his career. So Walid is a pitching coach. He has trained thousands of people. Walid started with the startup founders and executives, and now he's coaching almost anyone from any age group, including students, employees, managers, artists, designers, engineers, PhD researchers, job seekers, ambassadors, and also government officials. Walid's background is in entrepreneurship, hospitality, and sales. He worked for 15 years in restaurants and hotels before receiving the Masters on Entrepreneurship from Aalto Schools of Business in Finland. His startup, Barisma, was among the first teams in the startup sauna in Finland. Really good startup event there. And included the Finland's and the Baltic's top accelerators until 2018. For a decade, Walid has been actively involved in entrepreneurial communities and hubs in Finland and Europe. As a summary, Walid has been an entrepreneur for over a decade. He has received academic experience as a student in Aalto University, majors in entrepreneurship and minor in international businesses. What to say more? There is plenty of materials about Walid, and we are really proud to have finally welcomed him, at least virtually, in Pristina for the Startup Weekend. Walid, thank you for your time. I won't take much of your time because I know we have probably one hour and 15 minutes. So the mic is yours. Welcome to Pristina.
Yes, hello. It's my pleasure to be part of this. Can you hear me well? Is there an echo? Is there any interference with this? Like just checking the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Can you tell me
Yes.
if you can hear me?
We can hear you really well, and the view is good. So you can go on.
All right. So my favorite topic is pitching, and a book called Pitching for Life. Basically, the idea comes from the idea that in life you need to survive first before you do anything. So if you don't survive, you're done, And surviving as humans and surviving as entrepreneurs is crucial. Like if your business doesn't survive, you're out of business. And if you don't survive as a human, you're out of this life. So Pitching for Life for me is a book that takes startup pitching techniques to everyday situation. So there's about 25 different chapters or cases. For example, how to present yourself as a human, as a professional, how to present ideas, how to pitch product services, how to brainstorm, how to use pitching for product development. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I don't focus on pitching just to get funding, because I think that's boring and that's inefficient, because to be able to be in a place where you actually are investable, you need to do a lot of pitching first, and a lot of startups ignore that. So I am very sensitive to that there's a lot of people who think like, okay, I'm going to work 5 years on something, then I'm going to pitch it one time on this pitching competition, then I'm going to get the millions, and I'm going to get my business going. That doesn't go like that. So I see pitching as a tool, like a toothbrush, and I see it as a very important skill to have for a leader, for a worker, for a student, for any human being. So you can ask me questions anytime. I'll keep an eye on the chat. I hope this will be interactive a bit. So if I ask you a question, I can see some answers in the chat at least. So it will be not so boring for you, because pitching is supposed to be something that you do with comfort, with joy. And a lot of people think of pitching as a curse, like I'm so nervous, or I'm so afraid I'm gonna fail. Yeah, so it's quite interesting how people approach selling and pitching and presentation skills. The way I see it is a little bit different, so I'm going to explain it. And also, before I start with my slides, I just want to tell everyone that pitching is something we've been doing since the beginning of time. Pitching is quite, we humans, we have been doing it, but then we forgot about it. So maybe I will start with a question to the audience, to everyone who's active, and it would be nice to see your videos as well, to see, you know, your faces if you can. If not, that's okay. But the first question is like, what is pitching? Let's try to answer that while I'm loading my slides. So feel free to answer in the chat. What do you hear when you hear the word pitching? What does it mean to you? What is the definition in your eyes? Can we start with that while I'm sharing my slides? Don't be shy. There's no wrong or right answers. It's just.
Can I?
All right, we're super silent. Okay, so I'll give you like maybe 30 more seconds for that.
Sir?
First association is throwing something. Yeah, that comes from baseball. Nice one, Tina. What else? What else do we hear when we hear the word pitching? I hear presentation. All right, that's half of it. Don't be shy. You know, like, the second question I have for you is, what scares you about pitching? What is the most difficult thing? What would you like to learn today? Because we have 1 hour, so I'm going to be talking most of the times, but you can ask question anytime during the presentation. I will stop and answer it. All right, let's go to this question. Can someone tell me if you can see my slides? Just to confirm, so I won't be talking alone. The purpose of the pitch is to stimulate interest, not to close the deal. All right, it's loading. So the slides are loading, they're not showing yet. Interesting. You're presenting to everybody. Can someone help me that by telling me that you can see the slides? You're presenting to everyone.
But there are no slides.
There's no slides.
No.
It's loading still. Which is funny. Let's try again. Let's maybe share the entire screen. What? We lost the slides. Oh, I closed them. All right, just one more second. I had it ready and then I closed it. Talking about Saturdays. Google Hangouts is not playing fun with me. Okay, but I'll improvise a bit now. The first association is throwing something. We are seeing a black background, okay? The purpose of the pitch is to stimulate interest, not to close a deal. Please, can you give me a few more while I'm loading the slides? I think we're getting into something. The biggest challenge for people is to actually understand what is something in order to do it well. So when I talk about pitching with confidence, how can you do something with confidence when you don't understand what it is first? All right, so I have a very easy definition for pitching. And most people, when they think about pitching, they think about an outcome of a pitch. For example, it's selling or marketing, or you want to convince someone, or like now, the purpose of the pitch is to stimulate interest, not to close a deal. I think both outcomes are important to have. Like, you can stimulate interest and then you can close a deal with another pitch. So we're going to talk about that. This is the interesting thing. Let's see if I can actually successfully now manage to show you my slides. Let's try it again. Can someone help me with this? This is very unusual that I cannot share my slides. It's okay. So now you can see, yes, we're seeing it. Perfect. All right. So the most important thing about pitching is to understand what it is first. So if you understand what pitching is, you can do it well. So the question, what is pitching, is basically, it's a presentation where you ask something. So Valen, when you say like it's to stimulate interest or to close a deal, you're talking about two different styles of presentations. One presentation can stimulate interest, one presentation can close a deal. It depends on the ask. So basically, if you don't ask, it's not a pitch, it's just a presentation. And that's what makes pitching really interesting, because it's all about persuading someone to do something with the thing that you're asking. I'll give you an example. If you have a startup and you want to raise funding, you're basically asking for someone to fund your company. But if you have a product and you want to sell the product, you're basically asking someone to buy it. Or same thing, you have a product, but you want someone to give you feedback on it. So the ask is very important because it actually dictates the presentation. But what makes a pitch is that it's just a communication style. It's a strategic way of communicating something where you persuade, and it has to be clear. So you want to aim for clarity first, simplicity after, and then specificity and differentiation. Clarity means that you actually talk clearly so people understand. Simplicity means that you explain difficult things. So I coach a lot of very smart engineers, or even rocket scientists, or artists, you know, and they have very complex things, and that's really hard to simplify. And if they don't simplify it, it actually affects the clarity, and it also affects the persuasion. Specificity means that you actually specify if, for example, the car is electric or gas, or you specify if your hat is yellow or pink, or you specify if your technology is a service or a product, or is it an app or a website. So specificity is very important. And differentiation means that what is unique about it. So all these four need to be in a pitch. If one of them is lacking, it actually affects the persuasion. So pitching is a presentation where you ask, it has to be clear, simple to understand, it has to be specific, and it has to be different, or a little bit, you have to show something unique there. And differentiation has something to do with competition, like you want to be a little bit different than the competition. All right, so why do we ask? That's a very good question. We have been pitching since the beginning of time. We have been pitching since before we started learning how to speak. We were pitching with gestures, with the drawings. You know, if you think about very, very early human, communication, we didn't even have the alphabet. And nowadays, something we also forget, that we have been pitching since the first day we were born. You're born and then you start crying for milk. You know, you're crying for food from your mom. Or you're crying to, so your mom changed your diapers. To me, that's a pitch, because we have been doing it all our lives, but we somehow at some point we start being afraid of asking. We start being afraid of getting what we want. So, and I criticize that, because if you have a dream, if you have a goal in life, if you want to build a career, if you have a startup, you need to ask. You need to ask for help. You need to ask for someone to buy your product, and so on. And basically, asking is very important, because you need to target your arguments towards the ask. So first you tell me like, hey, this is a pen, this is a website, this is a hat, this is an electric car. And then you tell me what are the arguments about this car that links to the ask. So if you want someone to invest in you, the arguments should be about profitability. If you're pitching a product, if you're pitching an innovation, the ask would be to validate this innovation, or to actually convince someone that, hey, this works. So the arguments are different. If you're pitching to customers, the arguments are different than when you're pitching to an investor. And that's logical, right? So to convince someone, you need to bring the right arguments. And you also want me to understand what you have first. So if I don't understand that you're selling a hat and you give me arguments about it and you ask me, it might be confusing. So all these three have to be in line in a way. And the ask dictates the message and the arguments in a way. This is a nice tool that I have in my book, Pitching for Life. Why do we exist, or why do we pitch? This helps you to actually understand the scenario that you're pitching. You start here with the audience, like who are you pitching to? Then you decide what you want to ask from them, and then you actually understand what you're pitching. So an example, you're pitching to investors, you want 1 million euros funding, you're pitching your company. You're pitching to customers, you want them to buy, you're pitching your product. You're pitching to your girlfriend, you want her to marry you, you're pitching your vision of love. So this actually applies to every situation where you're pitching, presenting and asking something. The why is basically what Simon Sinek is saying, like start with why. The why is a little bit philosophical. It's the drive for you. Like if you want funding, basically, if you get the funding, you will grow, the company will grow. If your girlfriend says yes, it will be like you would have a great life, a happy life together. So the why is big, and that's why it's kind of combining all these three. So use this tool to understand the scenario that you're pitching, and then align the arguments to the ask. So otherwise you'd be pitching like a headless chicken. You'd be pitching whatever. And a lot of startups do that. A lot of people do that. Like someone wants to inspire someone, and then they're having all these boring facts and numbers. That's not inspiring. To inspire someone, you need to actually bring emotions and bring interesting examples or interesting vision to them to be inspired, and so on. So you want to be very careful. When you're pitching in 60 seconds, you can say up to 160 words. And when you're pitching in 8 seconds, you can say up to 21 words. So I actually, when I coach people, I coach them to pitch in 8 seconds, because people have very short attention span. And this 8 seconds pitching, like having the message, couple of arguments, and an ask in a very short kind of scenario, it's a really useful tool, and it's helpful for you to get feedback. It's helpful for you in events like Slush. You go to different investors and you tell them, hey, I only need 8 seconds. But the main point from this is to actually communicate efficiently in today's world. And I will explain that more when we talk about the noise. So what usually stops you from pitching is 3 things. Your mind, like mindset, you're afraid, you're nervous, you're not interested, you're lazy, any of that, like anything to do with the mind, you're shy, whatever. I know a lot of salespeople who go to sell something, but they are forced to do it. They don't love selling, they are pushed by their managers, they don't have enough training. So they do it in a halfway, and that pisses me off, because then they're not doing a good job, and you can see that they're not interested in this. But usually when you have a startup, you should think like, hey, this is my dream, this is my passion. In your mind, you should tell yourself like, hey, pitching is an opportunity. I would learn about my product, I would get closer to my dream, I would get closer to my goal. And every pitch is an opportunity for you to either get closer or to learn more about yourself as a presenter. So the mindset, if I give you a tip now, tell yourself, hey, every time I pitch, it's an opportunity. The content, on the other hand, is actually the words that you're saying. And the content is the second step. So if you conquer your mind, you need to start working on your content. The best way to work on your content is actually to create a basic pitch first and go pitch it as many times as possible and ask people like, hey, what did you understand? What did you like? What can I do better? That's the best way to improve your content. I see a lot of people sitting for 5 months trying to perfect a perfect pitch at home, and they end up not pitching it to people, and usually that doesn't work. So when I work with companies or leaders or startups and they want to build a good pitch, I tell them to pitch it at least 50 times. And we actually set targets and goals, and we think about who we should pitch this for to learn. And then after the content, you actually work on the delivery. So your mindset, you know that it's important to do, you have a killer content, then you start working on the tone, how to say it in the most ideal way, how to take pauses between the different parts, how to if you do it on the stage, how to improve stage presence, if you do it online, how to kind of improve the presentation online and so on. But if the mindset and content are not there, no matter how great presenter you are, the delivery will be affected, So if we see that you're lazy or not interested and you have a good content, but we see like, hey, you're slick or whatever, it doesn't work. It usually doesn't work. Anyway, the worst thing about pitching is not to pitch. I already kind of hinted towards that. The second worst thing is to be perfect, like to aim to be perfect. There's no such perfect pitch. And the third worst thing is not to maximize your pitch or optimize your pitch. One way to optimize your pitch, actually the best way, is to show the value clearly in order to receive the value. So if you want someone to buy a product, show them how is it useful for them. If you want someone to invest in your company, show that, hey, this company is profitable. If you want someone to give you feedback, show them where you're struggling, but explain to them what you're doing. They need to be interested to help you. So it's very, very easy here. Like, remember Jerry Maguire, I think, help me to help you, kind of, or show me the money, but help me to help you, kind of. That is a good example here. And if you don't show the value in your pitch, it's very hard to persuade someone. Persuade means to convince them. The biggest stability plan, they don't care about profits. Customers want to know if this hat is warm, or if this computer works, or if this pen writes in red because they need a red pen, So if the logic is off, if, for example, if your arguments are quite all over the place, the logic is off. Like, it's basically on a mindset level. Like, you're approaching it, you don't know what to say, or you don't know what's your strategy. The noise is on a content level. Noise should be down. You minimize the noise. So noise is communicating something in 12 words instead of 5 words. So if you can say something shorter and you say it in a longer sentence, there's 99% chance that you're actually complicating the sentence and you're actually making it more difficult for the audience to follow you. And imagine you have a pitch that you do like 1 million times, and if you have 7 extra words, you do 7 million words extra in 1 year, which means that you might even burn out. So noise is like cancer for pitching. I'll give you an example. Hello, everybody. My name is Walid. I'm here to present to you Pitching for Life. I am blah, blah, blah. I'm very excited. All that is kind of useless. The point here was like, hi, Pitching for Life is a book that adapts startup pitching to everyday situation. So go straight to the point. Noise helps you to understand helps you to argument better, because when you're argumenting, you need to bring quality and quantity of arguments. So you have this big argument, like let's go change the world. But then in order to change the world, you need to think about who is this for? What is it about? How does it work? How much money do you need? Or who's doing it? All these different arguments. Like, they have many, many arguments. So, and in 1 minute pitch, you need to have about 10 arguments. And an argument can be 1 word, or it can be a sentence or an example. 1 word can be like affordable. This is affordable. This is cheap, easy to use. Couple of words. So it's the arguments that actually convince people about what you're doing. And people don't understand that, hey, if I talk about nonsense, it takes away from my argumentation. So I even advise people to say hi instead of hello, because hi is 2 letters and hello is 5. So 2 letters is better to say than 5 letters. This is how you actually optimize your pitch. Focus means that you actually have the right arguments. Like you use the why do we exist, you understand the scenario, and you focus your arguments towards the case that you want to have. Your content should be balanced with technical and emotional terminology. So it's usually 70%, 15, and 15. So emotions help you connect with your audience. I see a lot of technical guys who never use emotions and it becomes so kind of monotonic. The best example here to explore is Steve Jobs. When he's presenting anything, like the iPhone presentation, he's sharing a lot of emotions there, but not too much. So it's about 15%. And it can be bigger sometimes, for example, if you're making a game, because games are all about fun. So you want to show the emotions of your users, of your customers, of your players. So it can be 60, 20, 20, or it can be 60, 10, and 30. But most of the content is actually words to build, like to explain the message, tell the arguments, and then ask. And remember to ask. If you don't ask, it's very confusing. Like, why are you doing this pitch? I don't know if you want me to buy this or invest in this or give you feedback. Delivery, like I said, it's all about your audience. There's something about time. How long do you speak? 8 seconds, 4 seconds, 1 hour. The tone, are you speaking fast? Are you speaking loud? Are you speaking slow? Tone can also mean how you dress, how you, like your personality. Are you funny? Are you comfortable? Most people, like, they take pitching as a curse. Like, they're so afraid, they're so nervous, they think it's a punishment. I tell them to change that, because people see that in your tone. So work on your tone the most when it comes to delivery, especially now pitching online, because you can actually build your content and have it in front of you and people don't know that you're reading from a paper. But work on your tone if you're pitching online. That would be a great tip. Or if you're making videos. Timing means when do you say what, or when do you approach someone to pitch to them, or when do you actually present the biggest arguments, the beginning and the end, in the middle, or actually in all of them. You can repeat the unique selling point. So to me, the biggest challenges that you as a presenter have when presenting or pitching, first, you want to grab someone's attention. You want them to listen to you. To grab someone's attention, you need to have a strong opening and strong ending. I see a lot of people starting like in a way that it's super unclear, super philosophical, and they think that's a great opening. No, the best opening is to actually show me the best thing about what you're presenting first. If you're presenting a cool idea or great innovation, tell me like, hey, we have this great innovation. It can be life-changing. We save 1 million liters of water and we can create a great business out of it. That's the best opening, in my opinion. Like, oh my God, this could be cool. Hi, Angry Birds is a mobile game that has been downloaded over 5 billion times. There are many versions of it. It's super fun, it's addictive, and it's about birds who are angry because pigs stole their kids, stole their eggs. So they are fighting against evil pigs, or sometimes together with them against even more big evil, you know? So a strong opening grabs the attention, and it needs the clarity, it needs the biggest arguments first. It's like a punchline about your solution. You're not explaining the solution, but you're creating a punchline for your solution. I see a lot of startups starting with the problem. And that used to be a nice format, but that used to be a nice format 15 years ago. Nowadays, because people have very short attention span, it's shorter than a goldfish. Like we have 9 seconds attention span, like the goldfish has 9 seconds and people have 8, and it's even shorter now. This research has been, I think it's about 10 years old. So with the smartphones and the 3,000 marketing messages that we get every day and all the social media, we don't have energy to pay attention to many things. And that's why noise is also important here, because you want to communicate to me as an audience in a way that I want to hear it in the most easiest way. So for those of you who complicate your presentations just to sound smart or cool, you're actually doing the opposite of that, because you are risking that people don't understand what you're doing. So you're failing on the most fundamental part by not grabbing someone's attention. So let me just summarize what I said. To grab someone's attention, you communicate clearly, you bring the best arguments first, you have a strong opening, like you start strong. In the first 8 seconds, you tell me the best parts, because that's when people listen the most. And that's actually when you, as a presenter, are nervous the most. And then people listen also in the end. In the middle, they fall asleep. So you have a strong opening, like you start slowly, you communicate clearly, and then you end by summarizing the key points. And then you say thank you. So hi, thank you. Then the second part is to get people motivated or interested in your idea. So, okay, I listened to your presentation, I'm interested. So here to make them interested in your solution, you want to show them the benefits, you want to show the value, you want to show how is it for me? Like what's in it for me from your presentation, all right? So of course, sometimes some innovations, they are targeted for niche, that's fine. But remember, like if, for example, I don't care about electric cars, but I know, hey, my best friend knows that he loves electric cars. So even if you pitch to me, I'll be like, hey, Mike, I heard about this idea, come check it out. So you want to always think about that. And that's why I think pitching is always an opportunity. And then if you get me interested, you want to eliminate doubt. Because first I listen to you, then I get interested, but then I think, hey, this sounds too good to be true, or hey, I don't feel it, there's something off here. Or, you know, we're critical creatures. So when we're critical, we doubt. So it's your job as a presenter to eliminate doubt from your pitch. So maybe in your case now in the startup weekend, you're trying to pitch your idea to get hype or validation or to win this competition. So how can you eliminate doubt that your ideas are not just ideas or just opinions? You know, you maybe validate something, you show it from the perspective of your customer, from your perspective of your user. Because let's say, if I tell you, for example, hey, I went to this restaurant and it's cool, you're more likely to be convinced because you're my friend and you trust me than if you, for example, go online and read about it. You need to read many, many articles. So, or if the owner tells you, hey, we have the best food, you doubt it less. You doubt it more, actually, if the owner does it. But if I tell you, so you want to think about, to convince someone, you want to eliminate doubt or kind of reduce the doubt to the minimum. And people will always doubt, but it's your job to kind of address that. As a summary, pitching is informative. So you tell me first what you're doing. Is this an app? Is this a product? Is this a service? Is this a hat? Is this a pen? And then you aim for being memorable by kind of telling me important facts or great arguments that I remember. And people remember like maximum 3 things. So you want to be very, very critical what you want people to remember about your solution. And concise, this is something about the noise. We already talked about it many times. Just remember, it's your job as a presenter to influence the audience, not vice versa. And it's your job to build human trust first. So remember that you're pitching to humans. So how do you build this trust in your idea? In whatever you're asking, they need to trust like, hey, this is something for me. Like they need to think like, hey, this product is for me. This company is for me to invest in. There's something in it for me. If you don't have that on a human, like that trust, it's very hard to persuade. Persuading means that you convince them. And when we talk about argumentation, you can do it on many different layers. And that's where it becomes interesting. Like when you're pitching a startup, it's very important to explain the product or the concept that you're pitching. Product, service, concept. Concept is something that is still on a sketch or on a vision level. You describe it, you tell me that it works, you tell me that it's unique, you tell me that that has some kind of technology behind it, that has some kind of benefit. So you argument on a product level that, hey, it works, it's unique, it's beautiful, it's functional, it's useful, etc. The business model part, this is kind of the summary of the business model canvas. I don't know if you have done that training, if you do that in accelerators or incubators or in business schools, but a good way to summarize the business model is to kind of mention who is it for, like people, mention the price, is it free, is it 10 euros, is it 50 euros, is it 5,000 euros, or is it 100,000 like the electric car? Where can you get it, the place? And if you're actually pitching a startup, you also want to add how you're going to advertise it, how you're going to do the marketing for it. So people, place, promotion, and price. Those are just a summary of the business model. But if you think about the business model canvas, you can talk about revenue, you can talk about costs, you can talk about partnerships, etc., etc. Like, I don't want to confuse you for those who didn't do this business model training, but I'm going to give you one example soon after I finish this part. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The team part is basically who's doing it, who's behind this idea. So, for example, if you have a restaurant, you tell that you have chefs and waiters. If you have a startup, you tell like, hey, we have coders or we have people who are building this, product designers, whatever. If you have, let's say, a med tech, you at least have scientists who understand the medicine and building this solution that can help cure cancer. But it's always about the people. So the idea here is that you don't just tell me about the product. You tell me about the product. You tell me something about the business model. You tell me something about the team. Traction is basically what you have achieved so far, what you have invested so far. In your case, in the business weekend, it can be all the work that you've done during that weekend or something you've done before. Attraction can be, let's say, if you have a game app, you can say we have 1 million players. If you have a restaurant, you can say we've been open since 2008. If you have, for example, a food recipe, you can say we have this food recipe and it's secret and we have sold 50,000 bottles already. That's attraction. If you have a research and you patented the technology, that's also attraction. If you have done, if you, for example, already have a team and an office and you have like a prototype, that's also attraction. So basically, attraction is what you've done so far. And to me personally, if you have a startup, the traction is the most important part when you persuading. Because everything else here, like the product, yeah, it works. The business model, yeah, maybe there's a business. Team, great stuff. But if the traction is zero, I start doubting you. Like, why haven't you started selling this? Why haven't you tried to get some users, some community around it? Especially nowadays because there's a lot of competition. But it's good to know that you need to argument on different levels. And you also need to argument on the ask level. So for example, you want 1 million euros to grow in the European market because you have launched in Helsinki and now you're ready to expand, you know? We're gonna use the 1 million euros to hire people and to, you know, open more offices. That's a great argument. Like you're asking for funding to grow. Let me give you a couple of examples. So Pitching for Life is a book that adapts startup pitching in everyday situation. It has 25 different cases. It has introduction to pitching. It has an introduction to storytelling in pitching. And it has cases about how to introduce yourself, how to sell products, how to brainstorm, how to get funding, not only from investors, but banks and crowdfunding, for example. You can use pitching also in marketing. So Pitching for Life has that part. The best thing about the book is that it's free to download. You can download it from pitchingforlife.com. And it's about 60 pages. It's very short. It's very easy to read and it's very comprehensible. I wrote the book, so I'm the author of the book. I've been coaching thousands of people. I've been coaching in 30 plus countries. And I'm probably the first person to create such a book in this manner that is modern, like it's for today's world. There are similar books that are written about, like, for example, Pitch Anything, but they are written about 10 years ago. So far I have 25,000 downloads. That's the traction. It has done organically. I haven't advertised it because I wanted to keep it in a controlled environment. And I have a couple of hubs where actually they printed the book. So this is an ebook that I didn't print, but other people printed it because they loved it. So my only ask is to check it out. It could change your life. It could be something great for you and your future. Thank you. Another example here, you can, for example, pitch to your friend to go to the movies. So let's imagine this, like, hi, Mike, let's go watch the new Borat movie. It would be fun. Thank you. This is a short pitch and it has all the parts. Let's go was the ask. The movies was the message. The fun was the argument, like we're gonna have fun. But here, it's easy to say no to. If you use this movie example and you actually expand it to add all these parts, you can say something like this, like, hi, Mike, let's go watch the new Borat movie. It's gonna be a fun movie. Like, we watched the first one, we had so much fun. I already have tickets for you. I will pick you up from your home. I'm free on Saturday and Sunday. I know you're free too because you work during the week. We can buy popcorn and we can buy, you know, soda. And after that, we can go anywhere you want. We can go to a bar or we can go have a dinner. Like last time we did it, it was like we stayed till 9 a.m. or 5 a.m. 9 a.m. Yeah, and we had so much fun. And you don't need to pay for the ticket because I already have tickets from work. Last time it was just you and me. It would be nice to see you again. We have not seen in a year. And you know, we have watched all the movies from the same actor before, and we always have fun. So how about I pick you up on Saturday or Sunday at 6 p.m. So this is what a good pitch sounds like. You're making an effort. You're making it a little bit difficult for someone to refuse. You're not manipulating them. There's nothing I said here. There's manipulation. He doesn't hate this type of movies. He doesn't dislike going to movies. The only comment now would be like, hey, it's Corona, but I'm assuming Corona is not the issue. That was like the best example I can give you on a human level. And one thing I want you to remember when it comes to pitching, if you ever seen a Deadpool, and Deadpool, like the superhero movie, he says maximum effort. That's my favorite part from the movie. You want to do maximum effort in your pitch to actually persuade, because people see that. People see that the most. They see how much you're sweating, and you don't do it in a pushy way. You don't do it in an aggressive way, but you do it like it's some kind of, you know, like a finals or like Champions League finals or, you know, NBA finals. That's the kind of attitude you want to have. You don't need to be an expert presenter to have that, but maximum effort sets you up to be actually on a different league. People actually notice you more and they will remember you more. So you do that by showing arguments, and you show different types of arguments. You communicate clearly. You don't have to complicate the language. You try to understand who's the person in front of you and try to kind of, you know, do it well. The best way to learn about pitching is to practice. This is what I love to do when I have a workshop. I actually start, I give people 5 minutes, create a pitch, and we just pitch in front of everybody. I think the biggest group I've had was 200 people in one place, but I had facilitators and I put people in groups, and we've done it in Zoom. We put them in breakout rooms. But the most important thing is, like, pitching is a skill that you learn by doing. You don't learn, you know, being at home. You actually create the first pitch and go do it with people. And trust me, this is the best tip you can get. Just do it. You know, like, you don't need to be perfect, and make maximum, like, do the maximum effort every time you do it, from the start till, you know, expert level. And that's it. I mean, I'm happy to answer all your questions now. This is just a quick introduction. And for me, this topic is fascinating because it changes lives. It kind of, for me, pitching has gotten me from a small village in Lebanon to you know, the best place in the world. I think Helsinki is the best place in the world to be living right now, with all the education and all the great possibilities for startups and so on. So yeah, that's all I had. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. How was it? Any comments?
Thank you, Walid.
Do we have any comments from Facebook, actually?
Yeah, just let me check. We have talked yesterday or day before about the assessments. Are they useful anymore for teams to go and do some assessments with citizens before they go and pitch? You know the surveys.
Are you asking me about the survey? Sorry.
Yeah. So are they useful nowadays to go out and do the surveys with citizens and potential clients before they go and pitch?
Yeah. There's two things about surveys. Surveys are good to get some validation, so it actually builds towards the traction. But it always depends on the people who are answering those. So it can be a lazy answer. It can be like they just want to do it quickly for you because they like you, but they don't answer honestly. So you have to be very careful with the surveys. I recommend to do interviews on the phone, via Zoom, or in person. Those are more effective because you can see body language, you can see how people are reacting. Because the biggest risk for any startup is that you will be building something that people will not use or buy. It's quite sad if you work 2 years on something and then it goes to collect dust. It goes to your shelf and not to the market. So surveys are big question mark to me. They work, but you need to put smart efforts, and with that same effort that you put on surveys, you could have done 5 or 10 interviews with the same effort and the same time. I prefer interviews, or I prefer kind of creating prototypes. One good example here is that if you're trying to validate something, you can invite your customers to come to you and you actually show them, you demo, you show demos about your product and get direct feedback. But I know if surveys is the only way to do it, it's better to do it than not to do it, in my opinion. Any tip on how to connect with our audience? Yeah, I said many, Dren. First, you communicate clearly. So if you don't communicate clearly to them, you will never connect with them. That's tip number 1. So if you're presenting an app, tell them straight away, we have an app. Don't try to tell them like we have this amazing technology, blah, blah, that you can put on your mobile phone, and don't make it philosophical. Tell them we have an app, you know? And the second way is to actually share some kind of emotions, some kind of examples that show that, hey, this could be useful for them. And it depends on the audience. Like investors, they connect with the profitability more than, you know, the usefulness. So you have to be very clever who you're pitching to. This is a very big, very broad question. But clarity is one, emotions, examples, repetition. And there's a lot of ways. I mean, it depends on the content and the context. I mean, if you're talking about something that is like a mainstream, like a big problem, you will connect with them just by saying, hey, we have a solution for it. So like now, if someone comes and says, hey, we have a solution for COVID and we can do it quicker than ever, so they will connect with you. You will grab their attention, you know? So don't forget these simple things. Don't complicate things when it comes to pitching. A lot of people do that. Can personal experience help? Sometimes it can, sometimes it's irrelevant. You're asking very broad questions. For example, like if I start telling about my experience in pitching, I usually say that, hey, I'm doing it because I want to change lives. And I was in a place where I was super shy, and I was lost in life. And then I decided, hey, I'm just gonna do my best. I'm gonna go out there and present what I need and ask. And it wasn't so hard after all. I became an expert in something that was a weakness for me. So maybe it could connect, but you have to be very careful when you tell stories or personal stories. Are they adding to your pitch, or are they kind of just noise? You have to be very careful with that.
Good. We can now open the mic if someone's interested to ask. So please feel free. Don't be shy. Open your mic and your camera and ask Walid the question.
That was very helpful. You're welcome, Dren. Let me tell you just a few more things about pitching until you figure out maybe the courage to ask something. In your case now, you have 24 hours or 48 hours to work on something. Your ideas, your solutions, your concepts, they are the hero. So don't talk too much about the problem. Show the innovation there. Show the uniqueness that you have. And try to get a lot of validation there. I mean, if you're building an app or a platform, trust me, I've heard a million of them. So if you pitch those, the biggest advice I can give you is show us how different it is. Show us how easy it is to download and adopt this kind of platform or app, you know? When it comes to entrepreneurship, you need to really think about control and protection, and also about growth. So if you're doing something that, let's say, WhatsApp groups can easily do, it means that you're wasting your time, because you don't have control over your solution. If you're telling me that it saves 5 hours, what does it mean, that 5 hours, you know? So you want to be very critical. Like, pitching is not like a band-aid for your entrepreneurship. If you don't have a great solution to pitch, it's really hard to pitch. It's really hard to convince someone. So really focus on your solutions and work on them as much as you can. When I coach people who have actually great validation and great traction, they actually get so much results. And those teams who don't, I actually push them to get towards that. There's a lot of pitching techniques to do that. I mean, that's from the Pitching for Life. Like, how do you actually go to someone and tell them, like, hey, I would like 8 seconds of your time and just to present my idea. And I just want your feedback. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to know what you like here and what can I improve. If you do that like 50 times or 100 times, I can guarantee you that they will actually help you. They will give you some ideas. I did the same with my book. I had no idea what to write about. I had no idea how to price it. So I asked people, would you pay for it? And the people who said, like, yes, we will pay for it, they were not my direct clients. I wanted to work with students and workers and leaders more. They preferred to have free material, and that's why I decided, okay, the book can be free, fine. And I spent 1 year writing the book. So, but then also they helped me crystallize the content. I had 50 cases, I narrowed it down to 25. Those are the ones that people wanted the most. And I didn't want the book to be 200 pages. I wanted it to be like 60 pages max. So don't forget the importance of pitching. It's not just to get funding. It can help you in life as a person, it can help you in business, and it can help you in a startup environment. Maybe I'm biased, but I love pitching because it's the only way I know how to build a company, work on a project, and kind of even advise people. When people ask me to build their pitch for them, I tell them, hey, go pitch it. I can help you to find the right start, but you can go do the work. And it becomes so much more fun, and you get more confidence to do it when you actually start doing it in this way. It's not a curse, it's a blessing to have that kind of a tool. It's like a toothbrush. It cleans your teeth, and usually you just use it in that situation. You don't clean your teeth 24/7, but you basically use it every day. That's how I see pitching. You can use it every day in some situations. All right, I feel like I'm talking alone. I was very happy to share this with you. Use it for good. Don't use it for evil. And yeah, If there are no questions, we can maybe break this.
Yes. Thank you, Walid, so much. It was a good presentation, and we'll make sure we also share the video with other community members. Thank you for your time, and hope to see you in Pristina in person next year.
Yeah, for those of you who actually want and really interested about this topic to learn more, or if you ever think that you will have a pitch, like an important pitch coming in the future, let's say you're applying for a job, or you are you have a startup and you want to pitch it, I'm gonna share my LinkedIn. You can connect with me. I'll just write it now in the chat.
Great.
Or are you sharing that with the group in other way?
Yeah, I will also send them on Discord.
All right, but I'll type it here just in case.
Right.
I do give a lot of help, but I'm not gonna do your work for you. So I'm not gonna write your pitch for you. I'll give you feedback. I'll inspire you. I'll push you. I'm a coach. I'm not a slave. Let's put it this way. A coach will always find a way how to make you work, because no matter how many times I do push-ups for you, you're not gonna get the muscle. So if I do like 1 million push-ups for you, you're not gonna get the results. You have to do it so to get the results. But I'm happy to help. I'm happy to get you started. Otherwise, I don't know what else I can do to help. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Walid. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Have a good day. Bye.